Hi, my name is Florence Lim. I'm Dr. Florence Lim at TCM Healing Center, and I'd like to introduce Behzad and Hannah Varamini from Tend Prenatal. Behzad is a PhD in human nutrition from Cornell University, and Hannah also together they have a company called Tend Prenatal where they sell these food-based prenatal bars, which you know because I treat a lot of pregnant patients and patients trying to get pregnant, it's always important for me to, I guess, try to advise them in terms of the best possible way to get the proper nutrients into their body before and during pregnancy. So um, I was introduced to their 10 prenatal bars. They're these food-based prenatal bars, and I really enjoy it. My patients who are pregnant, especially during the first trimester when they're having trouble taking like synthetic vitamin, like prenatal vitamins, they're already nauseous to start off with. So it's really hard for them to take prenatal vitamins a lot of times. So they find that the food-based prenatal bars are actually a really good way of getting the proper nutrition in. Um, I guess, it'd be great to introduce you guys and kind of gives a general idea of what your nutritional background and why you guys decided to start making these prenatal bars.
Sure. So, really happy to be here and have this conversation. Um, my background is, like you said, Dr. Lim, in nutrition. My training was in human nutrition for my PhD. And I first got interested in that when I did an internship at the National Cancer Institute. And the lab that I was working in was studying how nutrients that were fed actually to mice and rats would slow down the development of colon cancer. And what
Mm.
blew my mind was that foods and nuts and berries and seeds and these natural whole food compounds were in many cases as if not more powerful than some of the chemotherapeutic compounds that we had initially tested on mice and rats. As many
Oh,
people know, initially we do these kind of studies in animals and then we move up to humans. So
right.
I was blown away when I saw that blueberries were one of the most effective foods at inhibiting colon cancer development in a rat and a mouse model, which is a really strong predictor for how humans will respond to some of those compounds as well. So my mind was blown about the power of foods. That pushed me to get a PhD in human nutrition to study how foods affected humans. And my dissertation topic was focused on how the foods that women ate when they were pregnant affected their baby's development, particularly the baby's brain development. So I've been obsessed with that topic ever since. And of course, now being married and us trying to start a family, I've become doubly obsessed with the
Right.
foods that are in our household and what Hannah eats and how that affects her baby and her pregnancy.
I see. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, and we got connected to Dr. Lim and the TCM Healing Center because I started seeing her when I was trying to start to conceive. And just having, I really like a holistic way, a holistic approach to fertility. So I really believe in acupuncture and all of the herbs that you all are using. And uh, and and our bars where it's just the timing just coincided perfectly because we
Right.
just launched these bars this year. And this is the year that now I'm having a healthy pregnancy,
Mhm.
thanks to so many things, but also thanks to Dr. Lim. So I'm now 22 weeks pregnant. And,
Goes by
and
so quickly, huh?
yeah, yeah. And I totally agree with what you were saying with the first trimester is I was very nauseated. I couldn't even think about swallowing pills. I've always had a problem since I was very young swallowing pills of any kind. And so when it came to starting to take prenatals, because I know you have to start taking them once you're trying to start to conceive or even before, um, Bazad found these prenatals that passed his nutrition test, like the one that could
Oh,
that was closest, but it was a huge pill. And I was taking multiple pills and it was just very difficult, very unpleasant. And I literally had to concentrate every morning with a glass of orange juice
oh,
and try to choke down this pill. And so thankfully, Bazad has the nutritional background. He had this idea, and
right.
that's where it started.
I see. I mean, I guess there's also the issue of when someone takes a prenatal vitamin or any vitamin in general, like, how much are they actually absorbing? It's like, is it I feel like you can never really substitute a pill for food, for real food,
Mhm.
right? So, I mean, similar to Chinese medicine too, like, the herbs that we give to our patients are really just, it's I mean, it's also more holistic in a way, I guess, because 'cause you're actually getting those concentrated herbal teas into the body, like, it's not just you're taking some, artificial pill or that's hard for the body to absorb.
Mm.
I think food also has a synergistic aspect in terms of, you know, what I've heard that is it true that when you take vitamins, a lot of times certain vitamins can counteract the absorption of other vitamins? Are you familiar
Yeah.
with that?
I mean, there's a whole, discussion in school of literature about, the synthetic vitamins, like you suggested, being different than compounds found in foods.
Mhm.
So my favorite example of this is a study from the journal Nature, which many people know is one of the top medical journals, about 20 years ago, that showed vitamin C taken synthetically. And the average vitamin C supplement probably has about 1,000 or 1,500 milligrams of vitamin C. So I know people are into things like emergency and airborne,
Right.
especially about cold and flu season. So
Mhm.
that 1,500 milligrams of vitamin C has the same effectiveness as 5 milligrams of vitamin C from food.
Oh,
So this
just 5
study,
milligrams, you said?
yeah, so this study was looking at the vitamin C from apples, which are a really common source. Most fruits are, not just citrus fruits. And they were looking at the antioxidant capacity specifically for vitamin C in apples. And they
Mhm.
found that to get the same capacity as the 5 milligrams of vitamin C from an apple, they had to give patients 1,500 milligrams of synthetic vitamin C. And it's exactly for the reason you said, Dr. Lim, is that this word synergy. Synergy means compounds working together. And of
Mhm.
course, humans have evolved over thousands of years to get their nutrients from foods. Our bodies are meant to identify and absorb and recognize foods. And when we take one individual compound, vitamin C, out of its food matrix, we call it, it doesn't act the same. And so 300 times difference of effectiveness is just one of several examples of how foods have more potency. Some of it's due to absorption, some of it's due to potency, than when you individually isolate those synthetic nutrients and feed them to people.
Mhm. Mhm. I think you also wrote a blog post, on your website about, synthetic choline versus getting choline from food sources. I think could you expand on that? And in terms of, are there negative side effects of taking too much of taking certain types of synthetic vitamins?
Sure. Yeah, I think another part of it, which was my concern too for Hannah, was that, especially in 2018, 2019, a couple of studies came out on this nutrient choline, which I think is just an underappreciated nutrient overall in the prenatal stage. Choline is much like folate in a lot of ways and develops the baby's neural tube. It helps develop the baby's brain, and it's really important early in pregnancy. And most women aren't getting enough of it. So, this study was from the American Journal of Medicine. It was this clinical trial done in the Cleveland Clinic, which is really a noted clinic for heart disease and cardiovascular health. And they were looking at two sources of choline: the synthetic form of choline, most commonly found in a lot of supplements, which is called choline bitartrate. So people can whip out their supplement bottles now and take a look at if they have choline bitartrate in their prenatal, versus choline found from two sources of food, one from eggs and the other, a common one, from nuts and seeds, called phosphatidylcholine, which is choline attached to a fat molecule, which is how it's naturally found in foods. And what they were looking at were these risk factors for heart disease, gestational diabetes, preeclampsia. And one of the risk factors for those diseases is a compound in the circulation called TMAO. I know I'm really nerding out here, but that's the last
I love
nerdy
I
point.
love the detailed nerdy stuff.
Yeah. So for for about maybe 50 or more than that, almost quite 100 years, we've known that there's a compound called TMAO, trimethylamine N oxide, that if you measure this in people's blood, it's a strong predictor for cardiovascular disease. And in the last decade or so, people have also found that in pregnancy, it's a strong predictor for preeclampsia, which is a dangerous rise in high blood pressure, hypertension, and gestational diabetes, which is really a risk factor for a lot of things and can affect the mom and the baby's health. So the compound TMAO is elevated when women were getting their vitamins from the choline bitartrate, the synthetic form, but was not elevated when choline was found naturally in foods. So when this came out about a year ago, I think last April 2020 or 2021, I was just in some ways alarmed, in some ways not that surprised to find that the nutrients that are in foods, of course, when they're taken out, chemically manipulated to be made into these absorbable pill type forms and given to people, they don't have the same effects. And in some cases, like you suggested, they can increase risk factors. So I don't want to say that choline bitartrate is going to cause gestational diabetes. But when you're pregnant, it's all about reducing those risk factors that can be harmful and promoting or having an environment that can promote health, right? There's only so much we can control, but it's about reducing those harmful risk factors. So immediately I was telling people, if you have choline bitartrate in your prenatal,
Which you
as
do,
which
which you
which
do.
most of them do,
Yeah, because it's a small molecule as opposed to the food-based one is a larger molecule,
yeah,
right?
yeah. So it fits
Oh,
better into a pill. So I was telling
oh, I
people,
see.
check your label, get rid of that, and try to get your choline from a phosphatidylcholine source, which are available in supplement forms, or a
Oh,
food-based source. So the choline in our bars, for example, are from sunflower seeds, and that's it. So
mm,
seeds and nuts have phosphatidylcholine as their primary source of choline, not choline bitartrate, which is actually just a synthetic form that is not found in any foods.
I see. And then in terms of, uh, the ingredients that you put in your prenatal bars and also how did you go about figuring out what types of, vitamins or nutrients are essential to put into your prenatal bars and then, how to use food, I guess you know, to what types of foods to put into your bars?
Yeah, I
What type
mean, there are so many nutrients that are recommended for women in pregnancy. Many of them, as you know, they're elevated. Uh, I tried to make something for Hannah that would be comprehensive, at the same time recognizing that there's no one pill or no one food that can cover all of our nutritional basis for the day,
Mhm.
right? That's supposed to be diet. But with the understanding that a lot of women, especially in that first trimester, have nausea, have a reduced appetite, what could I make for Hannah that would be not only delicious that she would look forward to, but that would cover most, if not all of those gaps at or around 75 to 100% of daily value for about 25 nutrients. So on the back of this nutrition facts panel, there's 25, 26 nutrients, um, from folate, calcium, vitamin D, choline, iron, omega 3. Those that I mentioned, those five or six are probably the most important ones that I zeroed in on first.
Mhm.
Of course, a lot of women know about folate and the risk for neural tube defects when folate is deficient, but a lot of women didn't take or recognize the value of something like choline or even calcium. Nowadays, a lot of people are drinking less milk than they did back when I was a kid. And
Mhm.
so I think people that are less on dairy and more maybe in the vegetarian, vegan, or whole food, plant based diet need to be aware of calcium also being a nutrient that's
Right.
actually found in almost no prenatals.
And how do
So,
you and so what are the specific nutrients in your prenatals that have the calcium in it?
so we use a marine microalgae that's been dried.
Oh,
And being that it's from the ocean, it's actually from sort of the northeast part of Canada. It's a very rich calcium source that has calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, about 26 trace minerals in it, in addition to just having calcium. They also use what's called a chemical free extraction process. So not only is the calcium natural, but it's so absorbed, it's so concentrated in the algae that it's really easy for them to take the calcium out of the algae without using any harsh chemicals or solvents, anything that
mhm.
you often find when you're making a synthetic kind of source of a nutrient. So we went to the ocean for our calcium and we went to the ocean for our algae, which
Oh,
is
I see.
our
Good.
omega 3,
Omega-3.
which is
Oh,
where,
right, so you get the I see. So you get the omega-3 also from the algae as well.
yeah, yeah. And the reason we went that is because philosophically, I asked, where are these things found in nature?
Mhm.
Right? When we take omega-3 from fish, like fish oil, where do they get their omega-3 from? They get it from actually algae and feeding on sort of the bottom of the
Oh,
ocean and
right.
eating the algae. So I tried to go to sort of the purest and most concentrated source of those nutrients, which was in our case foods, things that we find in nature.
Mhm.
And of course, have a smattering of those to equal sort of 100% daily value of those 25 or 26 nutrients that were critical for pregnancy.
I see. So, yeah, because I guess my question was in terms of, fish oil versus the algal oil? Is that what it is?
Mhm.
Like in terms of how well does the body absorb one versus the other, or is it the same? Or um,
Yeah,
I
there.
think some patients have questions about that.
Yeah, and I think it's good to be aware of what's the source of my omega-3. Especially with a lot of fish being overfished, and a
Mhm.
lot of fish being fished in ways that are not very sustainable. I think one of the advantages of algae is that algae are not overfished or overcaught or overharvested. Um, there's actually still, fortunately, even with climate change, there's still a lot of algae on the seabed and seafloor that are not being utilized for human nutrition. Um, so one of the reasons we went with algae was because of that sustainability piece.
Right.
The absorption is about the same. I wish I could say algae are, 10 times better absorbed omega-3s
Uh-huh.
than fish oil, but to be honest, it's very similar. There's three really big studies that have shown the absorption levels of those omega-3s are very similar between fish and algae. Um, the
Right.
taste
It's
a
seems
little
like it would
different.
be safer also in terms of the mercury issue, right? Because
Mm.
right these days there's a lot of more concern about fish being high in mercury. So it seems
Right.
like algae would be safer in that sense.
Yeah, and all the algae that we get is tested for mercury, cadmium, those heavy metals that are found in some fish in some parts of the ocean.
Mhm.
And those values are close to zero. They're below what we call the limit of detection. So they're basically not there. And the fish is a little, fishy taste. And
Right. Some people don't like
algae,
that.
algae a little bit less so. I think if people out there, are interested in trying the bar, none of those fish burps or things that, I know Hannah and others said they've experienced with those fish oil capsules.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I saw that you have like a tummy soothe blend inside your prenatal bar, so it kind of helps with the nausea from pregnancy too, probably just helping with being able
Yeah.
to take it.
Yeah, so there's a level of ginger that was that had a clinical trial that reduced nausea in pregnancy,
Mm.
and as well as there's B6 and mint. So
Mm.
that was important to put in because nausea is such a challenge for a lot of women, and it really
Right.
was for me.
Yeah.
But not only that ingredient, but I think the fact that everything's food and you eat it and it's in this food matrix, like Bazan was saying, it just feels different. Like when you're pregnant, you have to always, at least for me, I had to constantly be eating little
Oh,
bits
right.
here and there to keep I guess it's like related to blood sugar, or I'm not quite sure what sparks the nausea, but for me, an empty stomach did. So I would have small pieces of the bar throughout the day. And also knowing that there's ginger in it helped as well.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah, I remember one of my patients who had really bad nausea also during her first trimester, like, she actually liked taking the prenatal bars because that was one of the only things she could really stomach
Oh yeah.
and also feel like she was getting the proper nutrition, so, yeah.
Yeah. It's 2 in 1. That's the
Uh-huh.
great thing about it.
I guess also in terms of my patients, like, some of them do have questions in terms of are they can they completely, substitute these prenatal bars with their can they substitute their prenatal vitamins with their prenatal bars? So if they're taking prenatal bars, let's say they're taking 1 prenatal bar a day, do they not need to take the prenatal vitamins in at all?
Yeah, so it was designed to completely replace the pill, so you
Mhm.
don't have to take any other prenatal vitamins. Even when I was taking the other pills, I was taking the prenatal pill as well as DHA omega-3 separately, and it didn't have calcium. So many women are taking like multiple pills, and also it depends on
Mhm.
the woman because some people are lower in iron or lower in vitamin D.
Mhm.
But in general, because this bar has, nearly 100%, 75 to 100% of all those essential nutrients for pregnancy, you don't actually have to take anything else. And I mean,
Oh,
for me, that was a relief because I hated pills. Some people like the
mhm.
ritual or whatever of taking pills, but you
Uh-huh.
really don't need to. And it's designed to just be kind of standalone and
Mhm.
enough. But, I mean, it's not a problem if people wanna take both. There's just the risk of having too much of
Maybe
certain nutrients, right?
Mhm, mhm.
mhm.
What are those nutrients that
Like
Yeah, I
ten
mean,
mhm.
for
Yeah,
some women, the iron that are in prenatal pills, women
can be constipating.
sometimes say that that can cause constipation. So taking perhaps another prenatal that's also high in iron, ours is, I think, 70% daily value.
Mhm.
That could, for some women, aggravate their stomach and cause some constipation.
Mhm.
But like Hannah said, this was meant to replace Hannah's pill.
Mhm.
And the hard part is sometimes, like you suggested, communicating that because people are so
They're
used to
used to taking it,
and
yeah.
habituated to taking pills from the time they're kids, taking those Flintstone vitamins and growing up and taking pills as adults, that this is really just going to substitute the pill entirely from fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. This was as if the prenatal pill you were taking was 8 servings of fruits and vegetables, because that's the material that we start with. It's dried down into a powder. We add the nut butter and the inclusions like the nuts and the berries, and that's Tend. So the ingredients that our nutrients are from are, broccoli, spinach, kale, pumpkins, sweet potatoes, strawberries, apples, oranges, carrots. This is literally what this bar is built from. And the nutrition labels, like Hannah suggested, are very similar to a lot of common prenatals. If not, we, I think, are able to put in more nutrients because the form factor is significantly larger than a pill.
Mhm. I would think, I mean, just as with if you're taking vitamins, you still need to use food. I mean, your regular diet, you still have a healthy diet, right?
And our hope is that this bar will sort of inspire that sort of holistic change of helping people realize that foods can actually be enough, and foods should actually be not only first but are superior in so many ways,
Mhm.
and foods are meant to be enjoyed with other people, and food sparks joy, and there's so much power to nourishment from foods that I think we can tend to lose when we rely on some of the synthetic forms more than maybe we should, which I think is where we are as a
Mhm.
society.
Yeah. Do your pineal bars, they come in different flavors, right? Are you guys working on any new flavors or how
Yes.
does that
So we have 3 flavors that are our classic flavors. So we have the chocolate sea salt, peanut butter chocolate, lemon berry, and then we have also a couple seasonal flavors. So in the summertime, we had a flavor called citrus sunrise, which
Oh.
was a kind of tangerine, lime, citrusy blend, kind of trying to be tropical with coconut and macadamia nuts. And
Mhm.
then for this winter, we have cinnamon bun, which has vegan white chocolate chips, cinnamon, vanilla, and pecans. So, having a very yummy, tasty bar is really important to us. And for me, I don't like eating the same thing every day. So I really
Mhm.
like having variety of flavors. So for example, I had a lemon berry bar this morning for breakfast because I was doing some errands. And then, after dinner, some nights, like last night, I had the chocolate. So you can have it
Uh-huh.
at any time of day. And it's just a really good way to have a little treat as well as, get some calories in because you
Mhm.
need extra calories in pregnancy too.
Yeah, personally, I've tasted all the bars and I mean, I think it tastes great. So I mean, I love the chocolate sea salt. I actually really like the cinnamon and the lemon berry. I mean, they're all
Depends on your mood.
depends on your mood, yes.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to mention that we are going to come up with a spring flavor, and that it will be to be determined. But we really like to have some fun with the R&D and the flavor experimentation.
Okay.
Everything is gluten-free, dairy-free, and vegan. So we really take a lot of time to source high quality ingredients and make sure that anyone who's vegan or can't take grains, can take the bar. And we do realize that right now all of our bars are made from nuts and tree nuts. That is,
Mhm.
because made of cashew base, a cashew butter base, peanut butter base, almond butter base. But we are planning in the future to include a bar that does not have one of those
Yeah,
tree
'cause
nut
some
bases.
patients do have nut allergies, yeah.
Yeah, so we're planning to hopefully in the nearer future come up with a bar that's nut free.
And so what's your website again where people can go and purchase your bars?
They can go to Tend Prenatal, which is TEND prenatal.com. You can read more about the bars, check out the ingredients. There's sampler packs, there's larger packs. So if people want to continue the conversation there, they can find our email. The emails go to us. So we're happy to have conversations with patients or people that are just interested in learning more. And really, the goal of this company is to be a resource and to give women a delicious alternative, which is made from foods as
Mhm.
opposed to pills.
Right. Thank you, Behzad and Hannah. And also, if they're, if you do purchase through their website, you do get a 20% discount on your first purchase. If you There's a discount code TCMHC20 that you can apply on checkout. So that's kind of through our clinic. And of course, if any of our patients have questions about the bars, so they can also feel free to contact me as well. So,
Mhm.
but thank you. It was great to talk with you guys and learn more about kind of your whole how it all started and all the research behind it as well.
Thank
Great.
you. Thank
Yeah.
you for having us.
Yeah. Thanks so much. See you around soon.
Okay, I'll see you guys.
Okay. Bye bye.